why won't Jonas protect himself? What does he? Is he not aware of HIV? Doesn't he care? For you, as you were writing the story, what was the, or is this somebody who has a death wish?
Not at all. So I think there are three pertinent things that are represented from Jonas's character. The lust of life, the lust of the eyes,
Yeah.
The lust of the flesh, and pride of life.
I think Jonas was at the center of about 10 or 11 different sexual networks, right?
Yeah.
Essie had her
network.
Essie had
her little
toy boy.
Toy boy is on the side. Yeah.
Lindani had X.
Yeah.
X eventually was with Mpumi.
Matipa did stray as well.
Matipa did stray.
And we don't know if she was protecting herself either. So, so that's what I'm saying. Everyone, we all is swimming in the same pool.
Every week, 3,000 girls between 15 and 24 are infected with HIV.
Yes.
That's Lindani.
Yes.
So we know that the blesser culture with a Lindani or a Matipa is very highly likely to be the highest driver of HIV.
Yes.
Welcome to Crossing the Last Mile, a podcast by UNAIDS East and Southern Africa, hosted by Anne Givuku Shongwe. Join us for this and other episodes as we tell the remarkable story of resilience and undying hope for the journey to end AIDS as a public health threat by 2030. This podcast is supported by the Partnership Together for SRHR and is available on all podcast platforms. Walk with us as we go crossing the last mile.
Welcome, Sue.
Thank you for having me.
Today we're diving into the most talked about television drama.
The Polygamist.
The Polygamist. I don't watch series a lot during the week, but I was able to get through it in about 2 or 3 days. This Netflix adaptation of Sue's best-selling novel, The Polygamist, has captivated audiences across Africa and the world. We have seen social media from the US, from the UK, from across African countries.
Asia as well.
Asia. I mean, sparking intense debate online. Many who can relate to it, many who are scandalized by it, others who are shocked by it. And we've had governments responding to it. The Ministry or the National AIDS Council of Zimbabwe and the Ministry of Health in South Africa responded to the Polygamist.
Yes.
This is real impact. And so joining us today, behind the story, is the acclaimed Zimbabwean author Sue Nyathi. Sugoluhle.
Yes.
Not Susan,
Not
like
Susan.
all of us think. We'll explore the origins of the Polygamist, the themes at the heart of the book, and the debate that has followed the series' portrayal of polygamy, of HIV, of multiple stories. Very interesting. Sue Nyathi is an award-winning Zimbabwean author, columnist, and is now based in South Africa. She's the author of several best-selling novels, including The Polygamist, The Gold Diggers, The Family Affair, and An Angel's Demise. We're waiting to see what comes next. Through her writing, Sue has become one of Africa's most distinctive literary voices, known for creating complex characters and sparking conversations about the realities shaping modern African society. So, Sue, welcome to Crossing the Last Mile. This is our podcast where we explore the complexities of subjects that are related to crossing the last mile in our response as UNAIDS and our partners on the HIV response.
Thank you so much for having me. This is such an important conversation, and I truly admire the work that you're doing.
Thanks, Sue. We heard about The Polygamist. The focus was so much about the book which you wrote over a decade ago. I think it was 2012 or so.
Actually, 2010.
2010.
I started writing it after the 2010 World Cup. And it's quite interesting that we're on another 2026 cycle with the World Cup.
So that's 16 years ago.
Yes.
And the story is set in Zimbabwe.
Yes.
But is a story that can be extrapolated to almost any country.
I believe so.
In our region. Many people have been talking about the polygamy or not.
Mm-hmm.
Is it polygamy? Is it just infidelity? There's been a lot of talk about the arrogance of self-made Jonasi. Jonasi's become famous all over the place. Yesterday, I walked into the office and there was a group of my colleagues sitting down having lunch and they were all going on and on about Jonasi. And pros and cons about what they think about him, whether or not he's a model for them or just, a real example of a rags to riches story, a story about class, about class issues, about HIV, about gender-based violence, and really about women, different archetypes of women.
Absolutely, yeah.
Who, in their own ways, are seeking their own emancipation in one way or the other. And so this story, as we watched it, I think the first question I have for you is just, what did you want to leave the reader with when you wrote this book?
So I think, when I wrote it, I wasn't even thinking of the reader. Actually, I think when I write a story, it begins with an internal curiosity. And this is the same with the Polygamist. The idea actually came to me in 2001 when I began my corporate career. I was born and bred and buttered in a city called Bulawayo in Zimbabwe. And then when it's a very conservative city. And then I moved to the capital when I started, my first job. And I was, raised in a conservative Catholic household. Raised to believe that, you grow up, you get married, and you live happily ever after.
To this one man, just the two of you.
Yes, just the two of you, one man, one woman. And so when I was now working in Harare, I saw a lot of married men who were purportedly monogamous on the surface, but were polygamous as well. And they had secret wives, secret lives. All these operated in parallel existence, right? So polygamy was not new to me. It wasn't foreign. The traditional kind of polygamy. I have to stress the traditional kind of polygamy.
Right, yeah.
So my maternal grandfather was a polygamist. He had 5 wives. So that setup was familiar. I mean, my grandmother was the first wife, in Lenkulu as it's called.
Yeah.
And she was aware of all the other women. It was a very transparent setup. And they all lived on one plot. And they all existed, together. I can't say they lived in harmony because, polygamy has its own dynamics.
That's right. That's right.
But that was what was familiar to me. So this brand of polygamy I was seeing was different because a lot of the times the wives were not aware of the existence of the other wives. And they were children from those little units. And these were like satellite families, And there was a lot of deception and secrecy around it. And it intrigued me that you would have a man, he's moving, in between these homes. And, he's a father to different kids. And how it, for me, it was, I never spoke to a man who was in that situation. But for me, I was just curious as how do you pull it off? How do you pull it off? And so I think that thought stayed with me over the years, and I saw more of it. And it's only in 2010 that I decided to write the story. But I was also intentional. I didn't want to write it from the point of view of the man. Because I always thought men will always find a way to justify why they need 4 or 5 wives. I wasn't interested in what the man's story. I was more interested in the women who are in this setup and what their motivation is. Because I understood my reasons for, my grandmother entering a polygamous union or accepting it. Because if you think of women at my grandmother's age, they had very little education. They
So
were very
in their
few.
teens
Yeah,
even.
yeah, they got married very young. The prospects for them were limited beyond marriage. What
Yeah.
could you do unless you became a nun or you joined a missionary or something? There was very limited prospects. But here we are, as women, we're more educated. There are more options for us, but we still find women gravitating towards a polygamous setup. So I was just curious to understand why women now, with more choices, more education, would still choose this kind of setup.
And why did you? I mean, each one of the women, Joyce, Essie, Lindani, Matipa, the woman in the prison.
Well,
I forget her name, but she showed up.
Yeah.
But maybe she wasn't in the original story.
Yeah, she
but
wasn't, yeah.
but the four women, each of them has a different story, a different archetype.
Exactly.
What was their motivation? Why Joyce? Was it not just
So Joyce represents the typical first wife.
the first wife?
Who doesn't sign up for polygamy.
That's right.
As most first wives now, they thinking it's going to be me and you till death do us part. And then later, the man imposes polygamy on them. And so she represents that woman who has had to embrace the train that comes after we've said I do.
Which is why she then embraces and sort of accepts Matipa.
Yes. Yeah. Even begrudgingly.
Reluctantly,
Yeah. And so it's a story that a lot of women can relate to nowadays. Because, and men often in their defense say, listen, if I brought it up from the get-go, they wouldn't agree to it. They wouldn't marry us. But I'm saying to those men, give women the agency. If she's going to say no, then respect that. Because, I'm all about choice. If someone chooses it, then kudos to them. But don't impose it on someone. And that's a lot of women find that a lot of men now, they cheat and try to sanitize the infidelity by making it polygamous. And so that's what a lot of women like Joyce are sitting with.
I was struck like you. I grew up with my grandfather was maternal grandfather was a polygamist. He had 7 wives. My grandmother was also the first of 7. There were over 47 children. But there was, in my observation, there were functions. There was a division of labor, right?
Absolutely.
It had a lot to do with how to take care of his businesses, of his family. Your wealth is defined by the number of children you have. And now Jonas is this self-made wealthy man who comes a real rags to riches story. And he starts out with Joyce. I think they met in college or something.
Yes.
And they started out together. And even though Essie was the first.
Yeah, first girlfriend. Well,
she was the first real sort of girlfriend who supported him through. But from a stereotype, I was thinking an archetype perspective. I really appreciate how you showed the different characteristics of these women, the different archetypes of the women. And I keep emphasizing that because Joyce went to college with him. And so they self-made with one another. Towards the end, it almost seems like he picked Joyce because of her father and his financial capacity or his ability to sort of connect her with business. So each one for Jonas had a strategic pull for him also. It wasn't just a sexual relationship, but I wasn't sure. I was trying to understand the archetypes and the complexities of your stories.
Yeah. I mean, in the initial book, he meets her when he's at university. And she's very young. She's a teenager. She's probably, 16, 17. But she's from a wealthy family.
Yes.
And I'd like to think that he was drawn to her, childhood sweetheart kind of relationship. Because he's not old, he's 21 when they meet. And that's a backstory. But the important thing there is that, marrying in your youth, you marry the woman you met in your youth. And I think for him, it's a different kind of girl. She's not from the township like Essie. And it's aspirational.
Yeah.
Because he also wants to go up in life.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's what Joyce represents. What he didn't have, but what he aspired to have.
But then he always went back to Essie.
Yeah, she was the, she reminded him where he came from, his roots.
His roots.
She's the roots girl.
She's the roots girl.
Yeah.
She's the roots girl.
And
She's a roots girl.
Yeah, and Essie represents that woman who meets a man and he says, look, I have a girlfriend, or, well, he doesn't necessarily tell her that, but she's happy to play second fiddle. Because, I mean, and the film amplifies this when they meet and they're shopping for clothes, and he never introduces her. And she silently accepts it. So she becomes complicit in the deception as well.
Wow. And then enter Matipa.
Yeah. And
she's in her late 20s?
Yeah, late 20s. She's on the come-up, career girl, educated, empowered, very driven.
Yeah.
Yeah, go-getter.
This is a story we hear a lot now.
Yes.
About young women who will do whatever she needs to be able to move up because she's, she wants to grow in her career. She wants to move forward. And so she picks him because she was with his brother.
Yeah. When in the book she's not, but she just in the original story she's just a climber. So she's looking to get ahead and
gold digger.
I wouldn't call her a gold digger because she's also earning well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think your Lindani would be more of the gold digger. So Matipa represents the brand of corporate girlies who say they can't find men on their league, earning capacity, just men who match, who can match them. And so that's Matipa.
So they must move up.
Yeah. And so Jonasi for Matipa.
At whatever cost.
Yes. She sees Jonasi as they're on par. And she wants him, not just, she wants to like literally knock Joyce out and become the wife.
That's her original intent.
Yeah.
And Joyce outsmarts her.
Yeah, well, they have
to some degree.
They play these cat and mouse games.
Yeah, no, that was a nice plot twist where Joyce is like, well, let's bring her in, and he tries to preempt it, but Joyce is the one who's put it on the table. And then enter Lindani.
Yeah. And so Lindani in the original story is your gold digger. We've seen them. They've had different names, slay queens, baddies, whatever you want to call them, who essentially want the good life. They don't want to work for it. They just want to enjoy it. The soft life, whatever you want to call it.
So she's observed it her whole life.
Yeah.
Because she's hanging out with them. So she's seen this. She's living in the house virtually as the friend. Yes. So, but she's also, for us in our HIV world, she's that age group where transactional sex and transactional intergenerational relationships at whatever cost in exchange for resources, for, whatever you call it. Some people say CCC, it's your cell phone, your clothes, but it's the blesser.
Yeah, the blesser culture, exactly.
So these are the archetypes of the four, and I really liked how you laid these out in the book. Very different characters, but Jonas is in his own way. He's showing the representation of all the different women who have come to be sort of stereotyped as women who move and grow through the wealth of men.
Yes.
Except Joyce to some degree, because she comes from wealth herself. So she's like the original one. And so it gets ugly, and it's very, very painful to watch the patriarchy, the dominance of his patriarchal behavior, and how women will then get themselves involved to the point of eventually gender violence. Yes. There's emotional and physical gender violence and abuse. And we know that there are large numbers of, abuse. 1 in every 3 women will experience abuse. And many of those who will experience abuse could also translate to HIV.
Yes.
So then enter the STI story.
Yes.
But in the story, we see him having multiple sexual partners, no protection.
Yes. And that's, an integral part of the story.
This is 2012. HIV is through the roof.
Yes.
No protection. This is the real story.
And this is and although in the series they made it up, modern and like in terms of the timelines, we still see the same behavior. And just we talk about safe sex, we talk about protecting ourselves, but the series displays that the realities people are not.
It's transactional.
Yeah, it's transactional.
So we're not going to do it. We don't have the power to negotiate
and negotiate condom use. And it's also for the younger girls like Lindani. They don't have power. So it's also the power dynamic. How do you then initiate condom use with the man who's supplying you, with
whatever you need?
Yeah.
And therefore his terms and conditions are his terms and conditions.
Yeah.
So observing this, for me, I recalled how in 2012 there was no PrEP.
Yes.
Today there's PrEP.
PrEP, yes.
And I was looking at these numbers and thinking, Jonas represents men in our world today, where as South Africa is a country that has the highest level of HIV. 8 million people are living with HIV in South Africa. In Zimbabwe, it's over 1 million. It's about 1.4 million, I believe, who are living with HIV. But in all the countries, and we can say that for Eswatini, we go to Malawi, we go to Zambia, Zimbabwe, it's the same story. Very high levels of HIV. We have the highest burden of HIV in our region. But we have Jonases in every single one of these countries.
Yes.
Why won't Jonas protect himself? What does he? Is he not aware of HIV? Doesn't he care? For you, as you were writing the story, what was the? Or is this somebody who has a death wish?
Not at all. So I think there are three pertinent things that are represented from Jonas's character. The lust of life. The lust of the eyes. Sorry.
Yeah.
The lust of the flesh, and pride of life. And those three things lead to his downfall. And it's true for so many men. They're very lustful. They want to have everything because the money gives them that access. They have the power. They think they're invincible. It's the ego.
That's right.
Yeah. And that's really what makes them not take those precautions and not want to, fidelity is not an option. And we have now a society that actually has normalized the abnormal. We as a society permit it. We say, men, that's what men are like. Men are dogs. All men cheat. And we perpetuate that narrative. And so fidelity now is abnormal. We don't encourage, men to be faithful, to be loyal. We don't encourage that. And that's a problem in itself, because we're also perpetuating that behavior, that it's okay. And it's actually not. And so a lot of those Jonasis, are living with that mindset that, it's okay, I can have anything that walks.
Whatever the cost.
Yeah. And sometimes, beyond just greed, for some men, sexual addiction or, promiscuity is also a way for them to anesthetize the pain they have. Some men try to fill voids, in them with sex or insecurities by having, multiple women. So there are many reasons why, some men are very promiscuous.
And for us.
And Jonasi, yeah. Jonasi, he grew up with his backstory. We understand he did not have, his father was a drunk. He was literally left his own devices. He didn't have a mom. And so Essie became the closest thing to a mother figure and that comfort. And he doesn't really understand what love is, or he's never, received love. And so for some men like Jonasi, they equate love and sex. Those are entertainment. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of
power and dominance that he has in the process of that. What that translates for us in our work on HIV, and Jonasi gets sick. He is not using protection. He has a cough in his fourth relationship now with Lindani.
Yes.
And she eventually convinces him to go to the doctor. He goes to the doctor and he says, I don't have HIV. So
Yes.
on top of that, he's in denial.
Yes.
Stigma and discrimination in relation to HIV, we still see as a major, major, major challenge to our work on HIV. But we have a Jonasi who is in absolute denial. And what we are seeing in our data is that we've made immense progress with women. So women are more likely to use treatment on a consistent basis. Men are lagging behind 10, 15% behind where women are. So the story for me was really important that you brought the HIV story into this circle, right? But there is still denial.
Yes.
And I just wondered how we could tell this story in a manner that gets men like Jonasi to change their behavior. What would get a Jonasi to change his behavior to be able to actually protect this circle that he has? That's what the original polygamy was. And maybe that's the story we need to talk about.
Yeah.
Because when you had polygamy, you had 5 wives, but you kept it in the circle.
Yeah. And even the wives were faithful in the circle. And I think nowadays that has also changed. You find that not all the wives are faithful. And I think what was amplified in the original story, Lindani was not faithful.
No, she wasn't.
So
there was X.
There was, yeah. And so also that the whole intersectionality of it exposes everyone. So the one wife who's sitting at home not doing anything also becomes vulnerable. Because, it's a pool. We're all swimming in the same pool.
Actually, if you think about it, if we count, I think Jonasi was at the center of about 10 or 11 different sexual networks, right?
Yeah.
Essie had her...
The network.
Essie had
her little...
toy boy.
Toy boys on the side, yeah.
Lindani had X.
Yeah.
X eventually was with Mpume.
Matipa did stray as well.
Matipa did stray.
And we don't know if she was protecting herself either. So, so that's what I'm saying. Everyone... we all are swimming in the same pool. And I think even in the original storyline, there was that ambiguity. Who brought it? It was a big question.
Yeah. Who
finally brought it in?
In your original story, it wasn't from outside.
Yeah, it was
from inside.
Yeah. It wasn't
and I actually thought that it's more likely to come from
inside. Yeah.
The outside for me was a plot twist which...
Yeah. For the series, but...
For the series.
Yeah. But I think in the original story, it was like who done it in
and
who's
most likely. And I mean, I think we've been having our own discussions internally about who would be most at risk.
And the interesting thing is, I think it also showed their prejudices. People always used to say it's Essie. They never ever pointed to
Joyce or Lindani or
it was, and it also is a reflection of what we perceive to be the carriers of HIV.
So in our data, every week, 3,000 girls between 15 and 24 are infected with HIV.
Yes.
That's Lindani.
Yes. And it's because of the intergenerational sex.
That's right. So Lindani, but it's intergenerational.
Yes.
Plus she had X.
Yes.
And we don't know whether X had
others. Yeah, but in the book we do. Yeah. Well, he did. Yeah.
He did.
So, yeah.
Okay, so there we are.
Yeah. So it's
so we know that the blesser culture with a Lindani or a Matipa is very highly likely to be the highest driver of HIV.
Yes.
Of STIs.
STIs, yes.
And pregnancy, as Matipa eventually.
Sure. Yeah.
And Lindani also got pregnant even though she lost the pregnancy. So the likelihood is very, very high. As long as Jonasi himself is not protecting himself, he's not protecting any of them.
Yes.
He is highly likely to get HIV. And so would all of them. So at the end, I was sitting there and I was just like, okay, so now who else has it?
Yes.
Because it's not just him.
Yeah.
So Lindani could be?
Could be, yeah. But we see, in the series, they show her being more willingly and receptive to taking medication.
Yes.
Yes. And I think people were saying that's actually more reflective of the younger generation. They don't have the stigma, which is quite interesting because you're right. In 2012, when I probably was writing the story, it was a different ball game. The stigma was higher.
Yeah.
And the collateral damage
yeah,
from
yeah,
infections.
yeah.
I mean, even earlier than that, I mean, I remember I lost an aunt. Her and her husband both died and left, 4 children orphaned who've had to literally raise, themselves. And that was the reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was the collateral damage from the infidelity and cheating. And families were decimated. I don't think the impact is the same now. I mean, because of, PrEP, the advancement in the medication, it's a different setup. Now we treat HIV, it's a chronic, illness. You can live.
But we have deaths.
Okay.
We have 400,000 deaths here every year. We have new infections. We have over 100,000 deaths. So we still have high levels of deaths in our region.
Okay.
It is not because we don't have U equals U necessarily, right? We don't have, especially men, sticking to their treatment, adhering to their treatment long term.
Oh, I see.
So, men will take medication when they feel ill, they get better, they won't necessarily replenish it.
And then...
Yes. So what we see from our data is that the highest level of dropouts and, those who are not adhering to treatment and consistent with their treatment are men. Women are doing much better. We have up to about 84% of women who have HIV stick to treatment. Men are at about 72%. And so men are at a much lower level of adherence.
Okay.
But the death rates are higher amongst men than they are amongst the women.
Okay.
So we do still see deaths.
Oh,
I mean, I know of men who have died because they won't go on treatment because of the stigma. So exactly like Jonas. Okay. I would rather die, which is what Jonas said.
Yeah.
I would rather die than be seen to be publicly known to have HIV. Even though it's a public secret.
Yeah. No, it's just interesting to me because I think because I saw more of the deaths, I don't see much of it now,
Yeah.
You think that it's improved.
No.
Yeah, but you say the numbers speak to it.
No, the numbers speak to it. We are still seeing it. We're seeing it amongst those who are most vulnerable because we still have high vulnerabilities amongst girls. We have high vulnerability amongst men who are having sex with men, men in general, drug users, so we still have injecting drug users. So we still have high numbers of communities who are very, very vulnerable. But Jonasi continues to be an important archetype of who spreads HIV, where the driving of HIV new infections is coming from, to multiple partners.
Yes,
So the sexual networks continue. And so if the polygamist is able to communicate that, and that we can close that loop and that there is an opportunity to ensure that all the women in that circle are on treatment.
Yes.
We don't condone Jonas's behavior, but we can at least protect that generation.
Yes.
Now Menzi at the end.
Because now he's,
Lindani is definitely positive.
Yeah. We just hope, that he doesn't get it. Yeah. I mean, because like you're saying, that's how it multiplies. Because he's probably, I don't know if it's lack of awareness or just recklessness.
Yeah.
Because there's also that now in this generation. Because there's also that apathy of saying, well, it can get treated. People fear pregnancy more than HIV, I think.
No, that's a big issue we're having, where girls will say that I would rather, HIV is not a big threat because they've not seen the deaths.
Yes.
They haven't seen what we saw when families were decimated.
Yes.
But I think being able to see Jonasi die, the slow death that he died and the painful way in which he died is really an important story for us. And the reason why we felt that it's so important to have this conversation is because his story is not a unique story. There are Jonases in every one of our countries.
Yes.
And I don't know if there'll be a sequel, but if there was, it would be for me to really push and tell the story of how the women went on treatment and how they were able to stop the continuation of HIV and AIDS and the suffering and the families.
Yes.
But tell me about the children. I worried about the collateral impact on the children and the families.
And I think that's one of the things that the series did well. So in the book, I'll be honest, I didn't really go delve deep into the children's lives. They were there, but they were like, watching on the sidelines, sort of like the casualties of what's going on with their mothers and their dad. And I always thought if I write the sequel, I would pick up with the children because they would be adults now when I look at my timeline. And I think also it's important to understand, growing up in that sort of setup, what does it do? You have wounds that you suffer, the father wound, the mother wound, abandonment, lack of identity.
Like Sarah.
You're not seen, you're not acknowledged. What does that do to you as an adult? And so for me, when I started writing the sequel during COVID, but I kind of abandoned it. But I was just picking up with the children, what has become of them, and will they become like their father or will they do better? Because there's also this thing, a lot of the times when you grow up resenting your parents, you actually become like them. Unless you begin to heal from whatever.
That was Menzi.
Yeah, whatever it is that they used to perpetuate. Because I think children, we as parents understand, children don't do what you say they must do. They do what they see you doing. They look at your behavior.
Yeah, that's right.
And they copy. And so I think that's why it's so important to lead by example. What kind of example are we setting for our children? And so for me, that would be in the sequel to try and correct, some of the wrongs. Because if we don't do that, we just keep perpetuating dysfunction.
That's right.
I mean, people wonder, why is society like this? Why is it broken? Because we're focusing on the fruit. We're not looking at the roots of the problem. We need to deal with the root. And until we do, we're just going to have one sick generation after the other. And generational trauma, we're just going to keep transferring it. And these negative generational patterns from one generation to the next. And we need healthier generations so that we can have a better, healthier society.
So if Menzi was your son today, or your relative, your family, what would you say to Menzi?
I wouldn't even say, I'd say, Menzi, you need to go to counseling. Let's start there. You've got a lot of hurt. You've got a lot of anger towards your dad. And we need to deal with it. If you can't talk to me, at least talk to someone else. Because, until you heal, you're just going to live through the wound.
Hurt people.
Exactly. And that's, unfortunately, we have a lot of angry Menzis, actually. And they become worse than their fathers. They become worse versions of their dads.
Yeah, Menzi was looking rough. He was violent.
Yeah. And because he saw the dad do it.
And he saw the respect people seemed to give him.
And that's the thing.
The access he seemed to have.
Yeah. And the thing is, money also makes us, when people, we need to be accountable for our actions, but because he had money, Jonasi didn't have to account for his bad behavior. I mean, his brother was older, but his brother, paid homage to him.
That's right.
Because respect is given to people with money and power. And so they can do anything with impunity. And we need to start changing that behavior and being accountable to our actions. Our actions have consequences. Our choices have consequences. We are the sum of our choices, good and bad. And we need to start, empowering our children to choose right. Choose the right thing.
To choose another way. To choose another way. Wow. No, thank you so much. As we close, I just think that your closing statements there, where you really talked about the healing. The polygamist could become the beginning of a healing journey for
A lot of
a lot of people. Right now, it's a big conversation. It's a conversation about many women identifying
yes.
with having Jonases in their lives. I wonder whether many of the women would step away from it or what they might change because they've seen how ugly Jonasi looks and how ugly his impact is on all these different women and the children and the generations, you know. And so as we wrap, just to maybe say for us in our work on HIV, we are so excited that you've opened up this debate and this discussion. Because, you know, we work with churches, we work with traditional leaders, we work with traditional healers, we work with barbers, you know, to be able to communicate with Jonasis that the choices you're making are deadly choices.
Yes.
And you don't have to make those deadly choices.
Yeah.
But as we conclude, maybe, you know, I'll just end by saying that there are new prevention options. Just 2 weeks ago in South Africa, they launched this new drug, lenacapavir. It's an injectable.
Yes.
2 injections a year.
Yeah, and you're done.
You prevent HIV. You still need condoms to prevent pregnancy, to prevent STIs, but this prevents HIV. There is treatment that's available in public hospitals. Our region has done the best. Zimbabwe, South Africa, Malawi, Zambia, Eswatini, brilliant. Kenya, Tanzania, they have done a great job of go get treated. Find the treatment. With the treatment, you can live an undetectable life where you can, you know, protect your family, men and women. You know, do the work that we do, which is to ensure that we protect our families in the future. But just to hear from you, your last words, and I think you've already said so many profound words for us. The story obviously is not only about HIV.
Definitely not.
The story is about
also the mental damage,
Yeah.
which I think, your programs, the prevention is dealing with one aspect of it, the physical damage to the health, but there's also the mental aspects. But I'm happy to see organizations like yourselves latching onto this narrative, because storytelling can be a powerful tool to educate and for change. I was happy to see what Amnesty International also did. They were saying to women out there, if you are living with a Janasi, these are the steps that you can take, because sometimes a woman might not know, how do I navigate this?
How do I get out? Yeah.
Yeah. And they had, like on social media, they had, steps that women could follow, which I think
when you're in an abusive relationship, where to call,
And those are important, hand-holding.
Yeah.
Because for most victims in such relationships, they don't know the how. But now that they've seen it, because also there's that resonance, you realize, look, I'm not alone. I can't be the only one. And then you go to social media, you hear women speaking out, some are vlogging, and men too. Men also have been in my DMs saying they've had abusive partners. So for me, it sparked a conversation.
Men, abusive partners, other men.
Yeah, men in relationships with other men.
Relationships with other men.
So it's across, all genders, and it's not just heterosexual relationships, the different
Which
types of relationships as well. And for me, it's that people are speaking out, which is very important. It's the first step in trying to get help. If you can, articulate your pain and speak out, because there's a lot of shame as well that comes with when you are being abused. There's a fear of speaking out. But for the fact that, collectively, and it's across races, multicultural, multiracial, everyone's coming to the fore. And I think that's so powerful that we are speaking out, and that, that's how healing begins. And it speaks to the brokenness that, people are carrying. So it's not just the physical, damage, but it's also the mental and the emotional damage. that people are carrying.
Wow. Thank you so much. I mean, I imagined when you sat down in 2001 and first imagined this story, you had no idea that in 2026,
I had no idea, it would...
this would become and spark the kind of conversations we would have.
Yeah.
I didn't imagine when I first saw it pass through my Netflix that this Polygamist would be a story that would help us to really tell the prevention story
Yes.
for HIV, the treatment story, talk about the gap that is there, call out to men, call them out to go get treated, go get checked, go get tested. The services are available.
And I was amazed. There was a comment on social media, like, how can a millionaire die of HIV? I mean, is that even realistic? And a nurse actually from the Gauteng Department of Health came out and said, that's what we deal with
all the
every
time.
Every time.
All the time.
Men are reluctant.
Yeah.
And she says, this is our reality. And I'm happy to see people jumping on, using that, because a story like that engages and catches the attention is a powerful tool to actually communicate.
And actually,
a difficult message. Yeah.
And actually, the millionaire, because he has the money. And because so many of these relationships in these economies of ours that are so constrained, and where the culture of economic relations and transactional relationships, toxic transactional relationships, have been so normalized. Yes. You said it. Where gender violence is so normalized. Yeah. Intimate partner violence is very, very high. Within marriages, within homes, within close relationships. During COVID, remember, I was with you and women at the time, and we called it the shadow pandemic, because women were in the middle of a war in their own homes. Yes. We were working on rescuing women from homes where they were they were under massive threat because of their own, within their own homes. And so to be able to tell the story, this is not a class issue.
No, it's not. And
it is not an economic... Yes, this is not an issue for those who lack.
Yes. Even then in the high walls of, affluent suburbs, there's gender-based violence,
There's gender-based violence.
Yeah, there's no discrimination, whether every woman is potentially a victim, could be susceptible to it.
Yeah, 1 in 3.
Yeah.
If we sit around and look in the room, it's you, me, and the next person.
Yes.
Right?
And that's the reality. And I've never tried to paint a dystopian, world in my books. I write about the reality, but hoping that, beyond the sensationalism, beyond the drama, there are very, profound lessons that, we can take away. And I'm glad to see organizations like the UNAIDS are latching on to popular, the popular media.
Well, popular media
to spread the word.
It brings change. So we thank you for this. We really thank you for this. I want to hold this book up because it's right here. Mm-hmm. So here's The Polygamist. Mm-hmm. We're struggling to get a hold of it because it's sold out.
Yeah. But there'll be copies.
Because we really need to read this book. And, if you ever... imagine that a book that you just walked past, like The Polygamist, is just a story. Actually, what this has told us, this is a story that can change
lives
in the millions.
Yes.
And for that, we thank you, Sue, for writing this book when you innocently were just observing behavior.
Yes.
But behavior that has come to actually completely decimate families, individuals, lead to death, lead to the loss of families and the destruction of many. And here we are in our region, 21 million people living with HIV, 400,000 new infections all the time, 3,000 girls getting infected every single week. Today, as we sit here in Johannesburg, 100 girls have been infected today.
Sad.
And many of them have been infected by a Jonasi. And as many look at Jonasi, always ask Jonasi, do you have a condom? Do you have protection?
Yeah.
Will you protect me? Jonasi, get yourself condoms.
Yes.
Get yourself some protection. Prevent HIV. It's possible for us to live a much better life.
An HIV-free generation. That's what we're hoping for.
Free generation.
Yeah.
Sue, thank you so, so much. What a
pleasure.
lovely conversation.
Thank you so much.
Honestly, congratulations for this. Keep writing.
I will do so.
We continue to follow you. We continue to follow this conversation. And we at UNAIDS and our partners are really, really excited about this. Sequel or not, you have opened a conversation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This podcast is brought to you by the partnership Together for SRHR.